J.K. Rowling dares police to arrest her for misgendering trans women after Scotland's new hate crime law. J.K. Rowling is challenging Scottish cops to arrest her after she went on a long rant blasting Scotland's new hate crime law that frowns at hatred against people on age, disability, religion, sexual orientation, or transgender ideology. Rowling argued that the law seemingly doesn't protect the rights and freedom of cisgender women, and politicians have placed higher value on the feelings of men performing their idea of femaleness. Fears have already mounted about the possibility that the new bill could inhibit free speech. J.K. Rowling speaks out against Scotland's new hate crime law. The Harry Potter author took to X, formerly Twitter, to pen a lengthy rant about her feelings on the new bill, which will criminalize threatening or abusive behavior that is intended to stir up hatred against people on age, disability, religion, sexual orientation, or transgender ideology. Rowling wrote in a lengthy statement, "The redefinition of woman to include every man who declares himself one has already had serious consequences for women's and girls' rights and safety in Scotland, with the strongest impact felt as ever by the most vulnerable, including female prisoners and rape survivors." She continued, "It is impossible to accurately describe or tackle the reality of violence and sexual violence committed against women and girls, or address the current assault on women's and girls' rights unless we are allowed to call a man a man." J.K. Rowling dares police to arrest her when she returns to Scotland. The controversial author further stated in her lengthy tweet that freedom of speech is at an end in the country and then dared law enforcement to arrest her. Freedom of speech and belief are at an end in Scotland if the accurate description of biological sex is deemed criminal, Rowling added. Rowling then noted that she was out of the country, but based on what she had written, she'd qualify as an offender under the terms of the new act. She noted, "I look forward to being arrested when I return to the birthplace of the Scottish Enlightenment." Fears mount about the controversial law. Hampering free speech, the Hate Crime and Public Order Scotland Act, which was passed in 2021 and took effect today, has already seen widespread condemnation as fears mount that it will be weaponized for political purposes. According to the Daily Mail, cops have said that they expect a huge uplift in reports of alleged crimes, including from people trying to use the new law to silence anyone they disagree with. Our concern is that it could impact through a huge uplift, potentially in reports, some of those potentially made in good faith, but perhaps not meeting the threshold of the legislation, or potentially in cases where people are trying to actually actively use the legislation to score points against people who sit on the other side of a particularly controversial debate, Rob Hay, president of the Association of Scottish Police Superintendents, said. Hay, in his appearance on BBC Radio Scotland's The Sunday Show, also warned that public trust in the police could be harmed. If you have hopes of the police intervening at a particular level and actually the criminal threshold isn't met, then potentially you are going to be disappointed and lose trust in the police, he said. And at the other side of that, if you know fine well that something you have said does not meet the criminal threshold, and yet it is reported to the police and the police come and investigate you, then you in turn might feel that you've been stifled, you've been silenced, Hay noted. Fans react to the author's rant. Some fans also took to the comment section to share Rowling's concerns about the new law. "Thank you so much for all you do to call attention to this insanity. It's so dystopian seeing this level of misogyny being backed and defended by entire governments. You are an inspiration and your courage gives strength to others," a fan penned. Another fan said, "Hate crime legislation is merely a socially acceptable way to brand censorship. Now that reality is on the chopping block. Maybe people will wake up. Stand firm, this lunacy will end soon, I'm sure of it," a particular optimistic fan wrote. "It's the most misogynistic time of my life," another fan lamented. J.K. Rowling is not alone. The prolific writer is, however, not alone in her criticism of the new order. Jim Sillars, the former deputy leader of the Scottish National Party, has apparently launched a campaign to resist the Hate Crime Act and campaign for its repeal. According to The Telegraph, he said the new bill inflicts a deep wound on the face of Scottish society. Today, on their own admission, Police Scotland will translate itself from a service into a force for one particular purpose: the pursuit of people who speak their minds, he noted in a statement. How has Scotland, the seat of the Enlightenment, come to this? Before her recent tweet about the new law in Scotland, Rowling had been very vocally opposed to issues regarding the promotion of trans rights, which has caused her to be labeled transphobic on multiple occasions.